Hi everyone, welcome to Google Partners Hangout on Air series. In today's presentation, we're going to talk about measurement and attribution. And my name is Burak. I'm working as a product specialist at Google and on measurement and attribution. Here's my colleague Elizabeth, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi Burak, my name is Elizabeth. I work in the measurement and attribution team with Burak, and I'm delighted to be presenting today this attribution training with Burak.
Just before we start, I wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, please write them in the comment section under the video. We won't be answering the questions live, but after our training, we will get back to those questions if you have any. And to give you a bit of idea about how this training will go, we're planning to finish around in 45 minutes. And in the first 10 minutes part, we're going to do a kind of introduction and introduce you the concepts and go over the difference between measurement and attribution. In the next second part, it will take about 15 minutes, I will go over AdWords Attribution solutions and tools. And then finally, about 20 minutes, Elizabeth will go over analytics attribution solutions and tools. Okay, let's start. So how many times have you heard these objections? I'm sure you have heard these many times, objections, or you can consider feedback as well, that the display campaigns or YouTube branding campaigns are bringing low number of conversions when compared to own search term brand campaigns, own brand campaigns, and when compared to, in general, search campaigns have higher number of conversions or lower CPA, but display has lower conversions and high CPA, vice versa. Or another question or feedback would be that the advertisers or agencies don't know how they should allocate their budget based on the contribution of different channels, or within a channel, for example, in Google AdWords, how they should allocate their budget for display or for YouTube or for search, and so on. Well, this training is trying to answer those questions and to show you the tools and solutions that you can use to understand this problem of attributing the credit for different conversions for different channels and within a channel to different campaigns. Let's move on. And so what's the difference between measurement and attribution? Measurement is the process of collecting data when a potential consumer interacts with a brand's advertising, website, or physical location. In other words, it's measuring specific figures. For example, number of impressions, number of clicks, number of conversions, or percentages, for example, or ratios like CTR, click-through rates. However, when it comes to attribution, it is the process of assigning credit to each interaction in the consumer's path to purchase, which means that usually consumers do not know about a product, or for new products, they start with awareness ads. They start to know about a product or service with an awareness ad. It could be display or a social media campaign or a YouTube campaign. And in some time, it depends from product or service to other differentiates. But after some time, they do their research, they make up their mind, and finally they convert. But when they convert, in the end, they might use a company's own brand terms, so that at the end, when that company looks at their reports, they might see that the number of conversions are actually very high, or the conversions are driven by their brand term search campaign, and not much about display campaign. However, this is not true. We should give the correct credit, right credit to different channels along the path in a consumer's journey. Let's have a look at with this graph. So, to use this as an example, we can say a user might see different types of ads along their journey to the purchase. It could start with a Google Display Network campaign, then they might see a YouTube ad, and on Facebook, a Facebook ad. Then, after they make up their mind, they can search for generic terms such as the best interest rates of mortgage in UK, or the best shoes, best running shoes, and so on. This is what we call as generic search terms. And then finally, after the user makes up his or her mind, decides on a brand and the model maybe, and searches with that brand, and then converts. If a user, just when looking at the different brands, different models for, let's say, for a shoe, and they are added to a list, a remarketing list, and it could be not just Google AdWords, but it could be other remarketing channels such as Criteo. And after seeing an ad on the web from Criteo, the user clicks on it, then converts. What happens is in AdWords or many other channels, Criteo gets the credit. However, when you look at the big picture, you will see in this graph that Google Display Network ads, YouTube ads, Facebook, generic search term ads, they all had some impact in this path to purchase. They had some impact on the decision of the user to convert and buy this product. So is it fair? Is it really fair to attribute that conversion only to Criteo or only to any last click, the click just before the conversion or the channel just before the conversion? We think it is not right because all of these channels, all these ads contribute to the decision of the user, and that's why we should attribute correctly the conversion to correct channels. There's not right or wrong model for that, and we will get into these different models soon, so that you can use these tools to attribute the credits to the correct or different channels along the path to purchase. When we look at to the upper funnel, or to the start in this graph, we will see fewer conversions. For example, with GDN campaigns or YouTube campaigns, you'll probably see fewer conversions than, let's say, a search campaign, or higher CPA and possibly negative ROI. When you look at to the more right-hand side of it, or how we call it as last click or lower funnel products, you will see much more conversions when compared to upper funnel products, and definitely lower CPA and most probably positive ROI. But as I said, the upper funnel products such as Display Network and YouTube and social media or email, they are definitely having an impact on driving the number of volume of search terms for even your brand term campaigns and brand terms. Let's see it from another example. Let's say a user started with seeing, interacting, clicking on Display Network ads. After maybe a week passed, he or she has seen an ad on YouTube, clicked on it, went to the website, checked the products, and then started to make up his or her mind, but not ready to buy it. Then started searching for Google on that product or service with generic terms. And having decided, still in the consideration stage, has seen an ad on Facebook and then made some searches on Google for that particular brands or models on Google, and then finally, because he or she is in one of the remarketing lists of these companies with, let's say in this case, Criteo, she saw an ad of Criteo, clicked on it, and then decided to buy, bought, and converted. What happens if you look at Facebook user interface? You will see one conversion for that action. If you look at Google AdWords, you will see one conversion again for this action. And if you look at Criteo user interface, you will again see one conversion for that action. When you add it up, it makes 3 conversions. However, there is only one conversion. In order to deduplicate this, Google Analytics is the best tool to look at, finally, to see the bigger picture and the right picture. Because Google Analytics will not duplicate the number of conversions, and with its default click model, it will attribute the conversion to the last click, which is Criteo in this case. So it is important to use Google Analytics to see the correct attribution and the channel that brought you the conversion. On different types of attribution models in analytics, Elizabeth will go through all of them with you, and I will be talking mostly about AdWords attribution tools. Let's look at the attribution model comparison report. We have these attribution models both in AdWords, in analytics, but let's start with what is an attribution model. Attribution model is, as we went through in the slide at the beginning, it's about assigning credit to the correct channels, or within a channel to the correct campaigns. With a default last click model, which is the default in majority of the advertising platforms, both also in AdWords and Google Analytics, we assign the conversion to the last click. we don't look at, or we don't assign any credit to the channels or ads that were before the last click. It could be display or YouTube or any generic search campaign. In a first click model, however, we assign all of the credit to the first ad interaction in the time frame that is set by the user, by the advertiser, or in analytics. So first click here, meaning that if in a 30-day time period, for example, if the user has clicked on a Google Display Network ad, become aware of a certain product or service, then after, let's say, 20 days, he or she converted, we will attribute all of the credit to the first click, which happened on the GDN campaign. So we will write one conversion for that conversion to the GDN campaign and not to the last ad. It could be a search campaign or own brand term campaign. We will not write conversion to that in a first click model, but write the conversion to the GDN campaign, whichever campaign comes first for interaction. In a linear model, we distribute equally all the credit for all these channels. In a time decay model, for example, we distribute based on the time. If it's closer within terms of time to the conversion, we give a bit more credit. For example, let's say we give 60% of credit to the click just before conversion, and the one before that we give maybe 20% and 15% and so on. We also have a position-based model. In that case, we look at the positions, and you decide based on which positions analytics or AdWords should give the credit to. So I suggest you read all of these definitions and play with it after this training in your AdWords account or analytics account, and see how the number of conversion volumes and your return on ad spend or return on investment changes. You will see dramatic results. And finally, there is no such thing as a perfect model, and we cannot say you must use this model or that model. There's no such thing. It changes from business to business and from user path to different user path. For mortgages, for example, or loans, it might be best to use a different model, but if you're selling MP3 players, it will probably be a different model than a mortgage selling business. It also depends on the user and consumer behavior of your target audience. However, we can, I think, make a generalization here. In general, for display campaigns, we have a great success story here. It's called Only Apartments. That's a Spanish client. And in this one, we have seen, after changing from last click model to reverse time decay model, in the reverse time decay model, we assign the credits mostly to the interactions happening far away, far distant in terms of time from the last conversion, and that the credit decreases with time based on the channels. What we have seen was generic paid search conversions increased nearly 50%. It was 46% increase, and email campaigns, email ad campaigns, has seen an increase of 32% in conversions just by converting to switching to a reverse time decay model. And you don't need to do a lot of things. You just click a button in AdWords and you just review. For example, from last click model, you click on show me how conversions will change in a reverse time decay model or first click model, and immediately the report populates and shows you the number of conversions. They have also seen remarketing and affiliates. These are usually, as you know, last click or lower funnel campaign types. They're well known for their performances and high number of conversions, low CPA, but when you change to a reverse time decay model, then their number of conversions dropped a little bit, since they are not middle funnel or upper funnel products. And as a result of that, they changed their budgets. They were even thinking about pausing their generic paid search campaign, generic terms, because they thought that its number of conversions are not good enough to be feasible. But after having seen that these campaigns actually driving their revenue and conversions, they decided to increase their budget on generic paid search by 20%. Then they dropped their remarketing and affiliate budgets by around 30%, and they did not change any other channels. And in a recent study done by our product team at Google, they have seen that if they used any non-last click model, it could be any other model than non-last click, they have seen uplifts in the number of conversions of 109%. That's about doubling the number of conversions from GDN campaigns. In my experience, while working with advertisers at Google and agencies and their big clients that are using display campaigns a lot, when I change from last click model to a first click model especially, I see around, on average, 3 times increase. If, in other words, if I see, let's say, 100 conversions in a week's time with a last click model, when I switch to first click model, I see 300 conversions in a week's time. And the direct channels or the brand term campaigns number of conversions drop a little bit, and they're going to display. The reason is that Google Display Network and YouTube campaigns are upper funnel products. As you know it in many other presentations and trainings, we talk about Google Display Network and YouTube campaigns as upper funnel or awareness products. We want to run these campaigns in order to create awareness in our target audience and introduce a certain product or service. They are not the final or lower funnel products that the user will click on GDN ad and then immediately convert. This mostly search campaigns are like that, as you know it. So why are we measuring the performance of a GDN campaign or a YouTube campaign with a metric of a lower funnel product? In other words, why are we measuring a GDN campaign's performance with last click model? Last click model is good for lower end products because it is the last click. It is just last click before conversion. It's lower funnel. It's the lowest funnel. If you're talking about search campaigns, own brand term campaigns, such as PC World or whatever, which drive majority of conversions, it's great to look at last click conversions. But if you're talking about an awareness campaign, a GDN, a YouTube, we should be looking at something else because they are not meant to drive last click conversions immediately. They're upper funnel products. So that is why we suggest you look at a non-last click model, and a first click model would be the best to look at to measure the performance of a GDN or a YouTube campaign. Let's see what solutions we have in AdWords versus analytics. In AdWords, we have search funnels, and it is under tools. It's tools attribution, and in parentheses you will see search funnels. We only see Google search campaign information. In analytics, we have 2 tools, mainly 2 great tools. One is multi-channel funnels, and that shows the data for all campaign and channel types. Elizabeth will go over to the analytics tools. In AdWords Attribution, or search funnels reports, we can see attribution data for paid search campaigns, meaning that regular search campaigns, as you know it. But we cannot see GDN or AFS, even AFS. AFS is for search partners. We cannot see their data yet, but that's in the plans in the product team. For the moment, we see only attribution such as assisted impressions or assisted clicks for search campaigns. However, on Google Analytics in multi-channel funnels, we can see data from all channels, not just AdWords. We can see data for Facebook, Criteo, or even your email campaign, or even a kiosk, if you have one and measuring it. In AdWords attribution reports, we can see which clicks from which campaigns or ad groups or keywords, their clicks or impressions, even impressions, assisted in the path to a conversion. However, for Google Analytics, for the moment, we can see only attribution based on clicks, click assist conversions. And views and impressions are still in beta, they're on the way. Now let's have a look at AdWords attribution. You can reach these reports under Tools, Attribution, and Search Funnels, the name suggests. And these reports help advertisers to determine the value of their search ads across the whole path, conversion path. As I said, you might see the highest volume of your conversions are coming from your own brand term. It could be, for example, you own PC World company and your brand term is PC World, and maybe you're getting 80% of your all conversions from this word. This is, we generally see such a trend we see in many of the retail, travel, and some other verticals. When you look at a campaign that has generic keywords such as Nexus 7 tablet or just tablets, you'll probably see less conversions and higher CPA than the brand keywords. If you look at even a higher, even more generic campaign, which contains great tech gifts without even the brand or model name, you will probably see even less conversions and higher CPA. However, that doesn't mean that they're not helping across the path and driving conversions. They are, but because you are looking at a last click model, you are only seeing the lower funnel product's performance, and you're only measuring with a glass of, you're only looking with a glass or perspective of a last click model, and you can only see through that glass only lower funnel products are filtered well. Middle or upper funnel product performances cannot be filtered from such a glass. So, and it's not good because we are ignoring the contribution of all other keywords in the conversion path. And with attribution reports, you can see assisted conversions. What does this mean? With assisted conversions, you can see assisted clicks and assisted impressions. And with assisted clicks, you will see the keywords or campaign or at the ad group level, how many conversions this campaign assisted. Not by last click, but along the path. It could be first click or middle click. For example, if you see 50 conversions as assist click conversions from the generic campaign, it means that it may have resulted itself by maybe 5 conversions in the past week as a last click, but helped 50 conversions from the brand keyword or any other campaign by itself. Along the path, a user has seen this generic keyword, clicked on the ad, went to your website, checked the product, did not buy it that time, but maybe in a few days, by searching your own brand keyword or some other keyword, they converted. The conversion, last click conversion, writes to the proper campaign, but you will also see this assist clicks or impressions on the relevant campaign or ad group or keyword. And when we move on to attribution modeling report, this is a kind of feature request from our advertisers and agencies for some time, and we have it for some time. You can reach it under Tools and Attribution. You will see that attribution modeling at the left-hand side. Here you can choose different attribution models from last click, first click, linear, time decay, or position-based. I suggest you play with it and have a look at, especially for your generic search term campaigns, see when you change to first click model, see how your conversion number and CPA changes. I think you will probably see dramatic results. In the assisted conversions report under attribution, you will see the number of last click conversions per ad group or campaign or keyword. This is available at the three different levels. You will see last click conversion value, and at the same time you will see impression assisted and click assisted conversion so that you can compare. For example, in this one, in the screenshot at the top we see Android Schwag campaign brought 2 last click conversions. However, it helped 47 conversions by showing with their impressions. And if you look at the last column, which is showing a ratio of assisted conversions divided by last click conversions, this basically gives you a ratio of if an ad group, campaign, or keyword is bringing more or is more assisting more rather than bringing last click conversion, or vice versa. In generic campaigns, you will probably see a ratio of higher than 1 because the assisted number of conversions will be higher than last click conversions, and when you divide them, you will get a result higher than 1. For example, for Android Schwag, for impression assist conversions, if you divide 47 by 2, you will get a ratio higher than 1. This is what we mean. And if you sort this column in a decreasing order, you will see the campaigns that are driving your conversions in an assisting way. Not as a last click, but as maybe a first or in the middle of the path. So here's another report. It's called Top Paths Report. With this, you can see the paths of your users on the way to purchase. We can see ad group paths, we can see query paths, we can see keyword path, and query path is the one I use the most, so that I can maybe discover new keywords for our advertisers. You can discover good keywords or bad keywords, so you can add the ones that you think are helping to get conversions, or you can add the ones that you think are irrelevant or as problematic as negative keywords. This is how you can add attribution columns at the campaign level without going into the tools section, tools and attribution section, just at the general user interface of your AdWords account. If you click on Modify Columns button and come to Attribution, if you can add all of these columns: click-assisted conversions, impression-assisted conversions, and values, and the ratios, so that you can see for each campaign. At the moment, as I said, in AdWords only for search campaigns. For each search campaign, you can see how these campaigns are assisting to last conversions, last click conversions. Here's a new feature, which is called automated bidding on cross-device conversions. We have cross-device conversions for some time in AdWords. It's been a long time, I guess, but auto bidding ability is new, in which our algorithms and software, artificial intelligence is helping to maximize your return on investment from your campaigns. And with this cross-device conversions reports, it gives you real and critical insights into the value being driven by your ads across the user's different devices, whether it could be mobile or tablet or laptop or desktop. If you activate automated bidding on cross-device conversions, Google's bidding algorithm, which includes some sophisticated methods of artificial intelligence, it will automatically maximize your conversions across devices, looking at user behavior, in which bid or which device they started and ended up in general, looking at locations and so many different signals, and it will try to maximize your return on investment. The bidding algorithm looks at many factors, as I said, and it tries to bid more accurately than bidding separately for different devices. And that results in faster results and higher total conversions across your account. This is how you can activate automated bidding for cross-device conversions. It is very easy. It's under Tools, Conversions, and there's a setting called Conversion Bid Metrics. You need to select Conversions. Then underneath, you will see Include Advanced Conversions box, and over there you need to tick that box and save. And then in a campaign view or ad group view, click on your columns and you can add this conversions or cross-device conversions column, so that you can see the number of cross-device conversions, and you can see if they are going up or how is the performance going after you activate this automated bidding. Now we have the analytics attribution part, and I'll give the mic to Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Burak, for this very detailed and good explanation about how attribution works in AdWords. I'm going to focus on attribution in Google Analytics. And basically, I'm going to show you which are the main reports that in Analytics you can use to better understand performance and how all channels work together to drive conversions. So we have mainly two different reports, and Burak mentioned them before. So multi-channel reports on one hand, and attribution reports on the other hand. So if we want to better understand how all channels work together driving conversions, and Google Analytics is the best tool we can use. In AdWords, we can only focus on search paid data. However, in Analytics, we can see all kind of data, GDN, but also non-Google channels. So what can we find in these reports? First of all, we can find the 5 different attribution models that Burak mentioned before. I'm not going to go into details about how they work. because you already know. What we can find in Google Analytics as well, if you have the premium version, you have another attribution model, which is called data-driven attribution. Data-driven attribution model, it's a model that automatically assigns credit to every interaction in the conversion path. Meaning that you don't really have to pick an attribution model. The system would actually assign credit automatically based on a mathematical algorithm that, depending on the influence of each channel in the conversion, would assign more or less credit. So this, as I said, it's only available in the premium version. It might be available in the future in the standard one, but for now, it's only available in the premium version. So what else can we see in AdWords attribution? Sorry, in analytics attribution. First of all, we need to make sure that we have goals or e-commerce tracking enabled. Otherwise, we won't be able to see anything. What we can see is, for example, if we take into account this portrait funnel, someone who clicks on a display ad, then logs into their Facebook account and visits the website, then clicks on a Criteo ad, and then converts, we would be able to see that actually Criteo, it's the last click, so we would see one conversion assigned to Criteo, but then we would be able to see that display and Facebook assist this conversion, and we'll be able to see two assisted conversions, one assigned to display and the other one assigned to Facebook. Apart from that, as Burek also said, in the analytics reports, in the multi-channel attribution reports, we can only see click-assisted conversions. We cannot see by default assisted conversions or impression-assisted conversions. However, we have this information available, and you just have to apply for a specific beta. Just contact your Google team, and we would whitelist you so that you can see this information. So this is an open beta that everyone can sign up. Which is the actionability. So once you have this information, you can take insights and change bids and budgets manually in order to improve performance. We're going to see an example, a real example, in order to better understand which insights we can take. So let's move on. So what can we find in the multi-channel reports? First of all, we can have an overview of all the last click conversions and the total number of assisted conversions. This is very interesting to better understand whether your business is actually driving a lot of last click conversions or it's actually getting a lot of assisted conversions as well. What we can see as well is how different channels actually work together driving conversions. For example, as you can see in the bottom of the first screenshot, we can see that actually by selecting, for example, organic search, the direct channel, and paid search, we can see that these three channels together, they drive the 6.7% of the conversions. So we would be able to choose different channels and see the percentage of conversions that these channels are actually driving. What is also very interesting is to see which is the value that last click conversions are bringing, but also the value of assisted conversions, and compare this. Let's put some numbers here. So did you know that actually the 70% of business are actually impacted by assisted interactions? This is really high number, which means that a lot of business actually have more than one interaction before closing a conversion. Did you know also that the 80% of conversion paths contain at least two different channels? So we're talking about, for example, direct and paid search. So it's not that we close a conversion always using only, for example, Google AdWords. So Google AdWords could be a channel that could either close a conversion or assist a conversion that then could be closed using a different channel. And finally, did you know that the 79% of the revenue, for example, the revenue in AdWords, is impacted by attribution? So this is how attribution is important, and that's why we want to encourage you to start having attribution conversations with your advertisers. So let's have a look at my favorite report. So this is the Assist Conversions report. In this report, you can actually see the number of last click conversions, but also the number of assisted conversions. You have a similar report in Google AdWords. That's what Burek was showing you before. This is very interesting because here, as we said before, we are able to see how all channels drive conversions, and the number of last click conversions for every channel and the number of assisted conversions for every channel. And we can also see the assisted ratio. For example, let's take as an example display and video mid-funnel channel. In this channel, we can see that, for example, it closes 373 conversions under a last click model. However, this channel assisted 1,565 conversions, which means that actually this channel is actually a key channel that assists conversion, because the assisted ratio is actually very high. It's 4.20. The higher this ratio is, the more assisted conversions this channel has. So it means that this channel is actually assisting more conversions than closing. So that's why it's important to look at this report in order to better understand which channels are better at driving conversions and which channels are better at assisting conversions. And depending on this, if we see that a specific channel drives more assisted conversions than last click conversions, it means that maybe it's being undervalued under the last click attribution model, and we should choose a specific and a different attribution model.
Can you maybe go a bit over assisted conversion again? Because I'm getting this question a lot from agencies and advertisers. There's a big confusion around it. Like they think they mix it up with, as if, for in this case, display and video mid-funnel channel brought 1,565 conversions, but I don't see it. Can you briefly explain again what do we mean by assisted conversions?
So an assisted conversion, it means that actually this channel, for example, we may have a specific conversion channel, okay? So, for example, we could start with someone who's seeing the ad on the display network, and then after seeing this ad on the display network, they click on the ad and they visited the website. Then the same user could...
but did not make a purchase.
They didn't make a purchase, exactly. Then they could go to organically, for example, and they could click on the result organically and visit the website and leave again and don't make a purchase. And then they could visit the website.
And this could happen in 3 days, 3 weeks?
Exactly. It depends. Yeah. So we can actually adapt in Google Analytics the ratio to 30 days up to 90 days. So we would be able to see in this 90 days time frame maximum the number of assisted conversions. So we would be able to see whether someone has actually clicked on the display ad but not converted. However, they would convert later on a specific and a different channel. So that's what an assisted ratio would mean. Okay. So let me move on and talk a little bit more about assisted ratios and assisted conversions. So again, you said before that some campaign types and some channels drive more conversions, and some other channels and campaign types are more likely to assist conversions. So, for example, display usually drives the upper funnel, and therefore it can't be measured against the last click attribution model. For example, here we can see that display or, for example, paid search generic, these are two different channels and campaign types that are likely to assist more conversions than close. So the higher the assist ratio, it means that these channels are assisting more conversions than closing. On the other hand, we would see that channels such as direct or organic search or even brand paid search, they are more likely to close conversions. Therefore, the assisted ratios would always be lower. And because they are closing more conversions than assisting, they would be lower than 1. So we've been talking about display because actually this analyzing display performance is very interesting. It's important to analyze display performance using the multi-channel funnels, because unfortunately we cannot see how the number of assisted conversions in AdWords nowadays. However, if we go to the multi-channel funnels in Google Analytics, we can actually see how display is actually performing. So which is the best approach? Which is the step-by-step walkthrough in order to better understand and measure display campaigns? First of all, we need to analyze the assist conversions and ratios in the assisted conversions report to see if actually the last click is being undervalued in display. If display is actually undervalued, what we suggest is that you work with your Google team and decide which attribution model will understand the true display impact. Once you choose a specific attribution model, you have to use these insights that you get from the specific attribution model to actually adjust the ROAS and the cost per acquisition targets to reallocate budget within the different campaigns. And only after doing this, you will be able to grow your display performance. So this is just the theory, and now we're going to see a practical example to better understand how we would do this analysis of a display campaign. However, first of all, let me just explain you what is a channel grouping and why is it useful. So we said that actually it's important to analyze, for example, the performance of display campaigns. By default, we would always have a channel that is called, a default channel that is called display. And we'll be able to see all the assisted conversions for the display channel and all the last click conversions for the display channel. However, we may want to see how display upper funnel campaigns are performing and how, for example, lower upper funnel campaigns for display are performing. For example, in the lower funnel campaigns for display, we would have remarketing campaigns. And in the upper funnel display campaigns, we would have, for example, video campaigns that want to raise brand awareness. In this case, we would create 2 specific channel groupings, or we can create 3 specific channel groupings for display. We would create the channel grouping called display and video lower funnel, display and video mid funnel, and display and video upper funnel. So in this case, what we can do in this channel grouping is create a specific channel grouping that gets, for example, campaign contains the word brand. And we could get this information from all the campaigns that are under the display network. And we could create this specific channel grouping, and we'd be able to see for this specific group the number of assisted conversions and the number of last click conversions. This is actually very, very useful. So let's see, once we have this report, how we can actually drill down into the campaign level. So what we need to do is add a secondary dimension. So we would go to secondary dimension, and under acquisition, we would click on campaign. Once we click on campaign, next to the channel grouping, we would be able to see the campaign name. And then we would be able to see for each campaign the number of last click assisted conversions, the last click conversions, and the number of assisted conversions. And we would also be able to see the assisted ratios. In this case, let's analyze this specific case. So what do we see here? So if we were looking only at the last click conversions, we would see that actually the campaign that is performing better, it's the in-market campaign, right? Why? Because this one actually closed 27 conversions, so it's the campaign that actually closed more conversions. However, when we look at this report in the multi-channel funnels, we would actually see that the campaign that is actually performing better, it's this fall collection campaign. Fall collection, interest, and affinity. Why? Because this campaign, even though it's closing a bit less conversions, it's closing 19 last click conversions, it actually assists a lot of conversions. It's assisting 124 conversions. Therefore, the assisted ratio, it's really high. It's 6.5%.
May I add something here? Mm-hmm. I think this is very consistent with what I was talking about in measuring with the right metric for different levels of funnel products. We are saying in-market campaign here. Mm-hmm. In-market campaigns, as you probably know it, are performance-oriented audience campaigns. Affinity campaigns, on the other hand, at the top for fall collection, they are for branding campaigns, which have higher reach due to different signals. So, and we use affinity, or we should use affinity audiences for branding awareness campaigns in YouTube or GDN. But in market, we should use it for GDN performance campaigns. And as we went over in the AdWords section, we are seeing a higher assist ratio from an affinity or upper funnel product with 6.5. And we are seeing a less assist ratio, 2.5, in a performance-oriented display targeting method, which is in-market. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So basically, this shows you that actually, under a non-last click attribution model, there's some campaigns that are actually performing better. And that's why we need to pay attention to these different attribution models and to the number of assisted conversions in order to better understand how display campaigns are performing and in order to switch and reallocate budget. So in this case, we would see that this interest and affinity campaign contributed towards much more revenue and transactions, 5% of total, when assists are actually taken into account compared to the last click attribution model, which would drive only the 1% of the total transactions. So this is actually very useful, and that's why we encourage you to do this exercise and go to the multi-channel funnel reports and see the number of assisted conversions for your display campaigns, because you'll get surprised of the results. We have another tool that is very interesting. We have actually a similar tool in AdWords Attribution, which compares different attribution models. So in this case, we are comparing a last-click attribution model with a custom attribution model. Custom model means that we actually assign credit to the different interactions. So in this case, we could, for example, assign more credit to the first one and the last one, and less credit in the interactions that are in the middle. So by using this custom attribution model, that is actually taking into account the number of assisted conversions and not only focusing on the last click conversions, we would see the CPA actually, that the CPAs are changing. For a last click attribution model, we would be able to see a CPA of 163%, whereas for a custom model, the CPA would be 140. So you can actually recalculate conversions, CPA, and ROI under this custom model and compare to last click. So which actions can you take after analyzing this information? So based on the data, you have different suggestions and different optimization. Different optimizations that you can do. So the first thing, we would recommend you to actually optimize bits and budget to reward the most meaningful touch points across the customer journey. Which means that, for example, as we seen in the example before, we've seen that actually specific campaigns were undervalued under a last click attribution model, but they were actually playing a key role in assisting conversions, and actually they were driving a lot of conversions. Therefore, we would assign more revenue to these campaigns, and maybe we would assign less revenue to campaigns that are closing a few conversions and assisting a few conversions as well. Therefore, the second thing that we could do is cut back exposure or adjust messaging or the targeting on low value ads. And finally, we could actually boost exposure of campaigns and keywords that are actually supporting customer acquisition. So these are some examples of insights and actions that you can take after analyzing the performance of your display campaigns, for example. So let me just summarize the main reports that you can find in the attribution and multi-channel reports. So we can, first of all, we can see an overview of the total number of conversions and the total number of assisted conversions, and see for a combination of 2 or 3 channels, which is the percentage of conversions that these channels are driving. We could also see the number of assisted conversions, last click conversions, and assisted radius. We could also see the top conversion path. This is something that Burek was mentioning as well, that it's also visible in the AdWords reports. However, in analytics, we can see not only AdWords data, we can see actually the path for different channels. For example, we would be able to see how many conversions started by organic search, then continued with paid search, and then they were finally closed by display. So we will be able to see for every conversion path the number of conversions that we get. We would also be able to see the number of the days that are driving more conversions, or the number of interactions that are driving more conversions. And finally, we would be able to use this model comparison tool that would compare specific attribution models, and we would be able to see how the CPAs change. So what's next in analytics attribution? So I told you that by default, we only have click-assisted conversions available in Google Analytics. However, we have this beta, the GDN impression beta, which would actually show how many impression-assisted conversions and view-assisted conversions we have for a specific display or YouTube campaign. This is actually very, very useful if we want to prove the value of YouTube campaigns. We know that display and YouTube campaigns are campaigns that usually don't close a lot of conversions. However, we know that they assist a lot of conversions. And we know that for a YouTube, the views, a video view can also assist a lot of conversions. Not sometimes customers would actually see the video and they wouldn't click on directly to the web to go to the website. They would only be impacted by this view, and then later on they would go to the website and convert. So we would be able to see, by applying for this beta, the view-assisted conversions and the impression-assisted conversions on top of what we can already see by default, which are the click-assisted conversions. So we would encourage you to actually contact your Google teams so that we can whitelist your customers for this beta and have this view. Finally, let me just summarize which is our suggested approach to attribution. So what we would suggest you is that you always start determining which is the best solution for you, which is and start actually learning like how many conversions you're getting. Then build your own measurement strategy. So start using a specific tool. For example, we would recommend you here, for example, Google Analytics, to actually measure the number of conversions. Then try to understand the performance of your campaigns beyond last click. So don't only look at the last click conversions, but also at the number of assisted conversions. Once you understand this, pick up a specific attribution model that actually values all your campaigns and optimize these campaigns, adjusting bids and budget. After that, test and see if after adjusting bids and budget, you get better results. If you get better results, it means that you have actually picked the right attribution model. If you don't get better results, then you can try again using a different attribution model. So again, our suggested approach is all about testing and learning and testing and learning. So that's it from us. I hope this was useful, and I hope you have a nice day. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.